This is a video that took me 6 months to make. Starting on November 1st, 2024, and ending on April 31st, 2025, I'm going to take you on a journey through the winter of the interior of Alaska. November started out with high temperatures in the upper 30s and low temperatures in the low 20s. The first snowfall was on November 7th, and we received 5 inches of snow. Often there's a light dusting of snow in the interior during the month of October, but not this year. In November were the first minus temperatures as it reached -7 Fahrenheit on November 15th. Throughout most of the rest of November, temperatures were anywhere between -12 and +28. A total of 15 inches of snow fell this month. The coldest day in November reached -24 Fahrenheit on Thanksgiving Day. This picture is from November 30th. As you see, temperatures fluctuate quite a bit once again in the beginning of December. Here I'm on my favorite side road in town with the view on November 30th at 3 p.m. Since November 23rd, this is how every morning and afternoon looks like. It doesn't get more sunny than this, whether there are clouds or no clouds. It's comparable to a permanent dusk between the hours of 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Other than that, it's darkness. And continuing into the winter, there will be less light with each passing day. December started out cold. Cold. It reached -27 on December 1st. After 2 days to start December with temperatures between -19 to -27, December 4th got up to -3, and at 6 p.m. it got up to 5 degrees. And 2 hours later, the temperature was 33 degrees. In a span of less than 24 hours, temperatures rose by 53 degrees. At 8 a.m. on December 4th, it was 41 degrees. This is how 9 a.m. in the beginning of December looks like. And this is how 4 p.m. in the beginning of December looks like. After the cold to start December, I would never have guessed that temperatures would be back in the 30s until December 11th. And although there hasn't been any sun yet in December, the wind I have heard so much about has finally arrived. Healy is a windy town, and since December 4th, every day has looked like this. And sitting outside making the video at 1 p.m., I find myself looking forward to the -17 temperatures coming back because the cold wind at 34 degrees is sometimes unbearable, especially with the gust coming through every few minutes. I'm starting to learn fast that we should forget about temperatures. Regardless whether it's -27 or whether it's -34, it just doesn't matter. The wind is all we need to pay attention to when determining whether being outside is going to be cold or unbearably cold. This past week, the windy days lasted 3 days, from December 11th until December 14th. Despite temperatures remaining higher this past week, even reaching 44 degrees on December 12th, the gust of winds kept you inside. Today on December 15th, it's -27. The warmer temperatures melted 80% of the snow that fell in November. The parking lots and streets turned into sheets of ice. It's kind of funny that when it was in the -20s, the ice wasn't slippery. Now in the 30s, outside is like a giant slip and slide. But I looked into it for those, like myself, who don't know why this is. Supposedly when temperatures drop below 7 degrees, the molecules on the surface of the ice don't have enough energy to create a thin layer of liquid on its surface, which causes the slipperiness. Therefore, the ice becomes more solid. Here it's 11 a.m. on December 15th. Sunrise is now at 10:41 a.m. and sunset is at 3:01 p.m. Here is a video clip at 3 p.m. After 48 hours of temperatures sitting around minus 27, temperatures ranged from between 2 degrees to minus 12 degrees from December 18th until December 22nd. What I decided to do today on December 22nd is make very short clips from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. to show everybody how dark it is in the interior of Alaska during the winter, because we all hear how it's dark the entire winter, and I wanted to show you what it's really like. It's only going to be pure darkness, as you always hear about Alaska, in a few very northern towns where all of us will never live. These clips will show you the way it's been since late November, and I still haven't seen a minute of sunshine in the month of December. Also, I'll mention the temperatures at the top of every hour, and you'll notice that it fluctuates a lot in this town. The temperatures didn't fluctuate last winter in Valdez the way they do here. In Healy, every hour or two, the temperatures often go up or down 10 degrees. It's something I also noticed in the fall here. 6 a.m., 10 degrees. 7 a.m., 1 degree. 8 a.m., 13 degrees. 9 a.m., 9 degrees. 10 a.m., 10 degrees. 11 a.m., minus 1 degree. Noontime, 12 degrees. 1 p.m., 12 degrees. 2 p.m., 0 degrees. 3 p.m., 8 degrees. 4 p.m., 1 degree. 5 p.m., 10 degrees. Sunrise is at 10:46 a.m. and sunset is at 3:01 p.m. I think people can understand after seeing this part of the video that if a person is prone to depression, Alaska is really not a good place to live because of the lack of sunlight and more hours of darkness than elsewhere. The lack of sunlight does not affect me mentally, but I did have to start taking vitamin D tablets after my first winter here. So Alaskan winters will affect everybody in a different way. Don't think you'll get through it unscathed. On December 24th and December 25th, temperatures increased and reached the low 30s, and strong winds were back with the force. From December 26th until December 31st, temperatures ranged between minus 19 and 10 degrees. Now that we're almost halfway through the first winter in the interior of Alaska, I have more of an understanding of why when it is really cold that there's very little wind, and why the temperatures change so often from 1 hour or 1 day to the next, bringing strong winds whenever the temperatures rise. The culprit are the Chinook winds. Chinook winds are warm, dry winds that occur when warm air flows over mountain ranges. They're also known as snow eaters. The Chinook winds often reach the interior of Alaska, where they can amplify warming and cause unseasonably warm weather. In 2014, Chinook winds completely wiped out snow cover near Healy and south of Delta Junction in the middle of the winter. In extreme cases, Chinook winds can cause temperatures to change by 50 degrees within minutes and by over 100 degrees within hours. The darkest part of the year is over. The first half of the winter brought us about 4 hours and 15 minutes of daylight every day. Since I was told before this winter that there would only be between 2 to 4 hours of light here daily, just over 4 hours was much better than I expected. And since December 22nd, every day will be receiving more and more daylight. On December 31st, we're already up to 4 hours and 29 minutes of daylight, 14 more minutes of daylight than we had on December 22nd. The amount of snow that fell in December totaled only 7 inches, making this winter's total snowfall 22 inches so far. January and February are the coldest months in interior Alaska, and to start off 2025, Alaska stayed on schedule. From January 1st through January 4th, temperatures ranged from -20 to -32. And I have to say that wind or no wind, once temperatures reach in the -30s, it feels like the beginning of a new ice age. From January 6th until January 10th, the cold Chinook winds were back once again as temperatures ranged between 15 and 35, most days being around 30. I still haven't seen any sun since late November, but we're now up to 4 hours and 50 minutes of daylight, 19 more minutes of daylight than we had on December 31st. And the wind is back. January 11th through January 13th, temperatures ranged between 35 to 43 degrees. Not what I expected during what is supposed to be the coldest months of the year. These days were also the windiest we've had this winter. On January 14th, temperatures were back in the 20s and we had our first snow in January, a total of 2 inches falling. January 15th and 16th, temperatures dropped down quickly to -9 with a high of 5 degrees. But on January 17th through 20th, the warmth and wind came back, with temperatures in the mid-20s to mid-30s. We're now up to 5 hours and 54 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 4 minutes more daylight than we had just 10 days ago. January 21st through January 27th had temperatures in the upper 20s to upper 30s, accompanied by strong, brutal winds. During these 7 days, it snowed a total of 2 inches. On January 28th, temperatures dropped quickly down to -5 and an inch of snow fell. January 29th to the 31st brought the cold again, the temperatures hanging between -24 to -28 Fahrenheit. January was much warmer than expected, and with only 3 inches of snow falling this month, so far this winter has produced only 25 inches of snow. On January 30th, the sun shined for the first time in just over 2 months. We're now up to 7 hours and 9 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 15 minutes more of daylight than we had just 10 days ago. As February began, we enter the last month of the coldest winter period in the interior. But like most of January, February started out warmer than expected. February 1st was in the 20s, and 2 inches of snow fell. February 2nd dropped down to the single digits, and it remained that way until February 6th. On February 7th, temperatures reached 20 degrees, and 5 inches of snow fell. On February 8th, it hung around -2 Fahrenheit the entire day, and after 11 days of being wind-free, the winds came back with a force on February 9th and 10th, as temperatures rose back up to around 20 degrees. We're now up to 8 hours and 6 minutes of daylight, 57 more minutes of daylight than we had just 10 days ago. On February 11th, the strong winds continued as temperatures rose to the mid-30s, but on the 12th, they were back down to the low single digits and the wind was gone. On February 15th and 16th, the temperatures remained between -5 and 5 Fahrenheit, and it snowed 1 inch. On February 17th and 18th, the temperatures were around 30 to 38 degrees and the strong winds were back. But they quickly disappeared on the 19th and 20th as temperatures were in the upper 20s during the daytime and around 0 degrees in the evenings. During the past 10 days, the sun shined bright and throughout every afternoon. The sun's back for good. We're now up to 9 hours and 18 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 12 minutes more of daylight than we had just 10 days ago. From February 21st to 28th, nothing much exciting happened. A few flurries, very little wind, and daily temperatures were around -9 to 30. On February 25th, there was a 3.6 earthquake 14 miles to the north of Healy, shaking my room for a quick 2 seconds. In the month of February, it snowed a total of 8 inches, making this winter's total 33 inches. We're now up to 10 hours and 10 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 8 minutes more of daylight than we had on February 20th. March 1st and 2nd had temperatures around 20 degrees. On March 3rd through 5th, the Chinook winds returned, bringing daytime temperatures to the mid-40s, while evening temperatures settled in the low teens. On March 6th through 8th, temperatures remained around 30 degrees and 1 inch of snow fell. Mother Nature is trying her best to reach the winter average of 89 inches this winter, but she's not even halfway there yet. On March 9th and 10th, temperatures were back in the 20s and 30s and brought some uncomfortable cold winds with them. We're now up to 11 hours and 8 minutes of daylight, 58 minutes more of daylight than we had on February 1st. On March 11th through March 20th, the highs were in the mid-teens and the lows hung around -8 Fahrenheit. The sun shone almost every day as the icicles hanging from the rooftops and all parts of your vehicles began melting. We're now up to 12 hours and 12 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 4 minutes more of daylight than we had on March 10th. March 21st reached 45 degrees with a low of 1 degree. From March 22nd to 27th, temperatures were in the upper 30s during the days and the low teens in the evenings. On March 28th, temperatures dipped down again with the highs around 20 and the lows in minus single digits. On March 28th, 3 inches of snow fell. From March 29th through 31st, temperatures were back in the 20s and teens and another 3 inches of snow fell. In the month of March, it snowed a total of 7 inches, making this winter's total 40 inches. We're now up to 13 hours and 36 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 24 minutes more of daylight than we had on March 20th. April 1st and 2nd reached the mid-30s and 3 more inches of snow fell. April 3rd through 5th had temperatures in the low 40s during the days and around 30 during the nights. It even reached 51 degrees for a short while on April 5th. On April 6th, winter pulled us back in, with temperatures back in the upper 20s and 4 inches of snow falling in the afternoon. It was 15 degrees the entire day of April 7th, and 3 more inches of snow fell. On April 8th and 9th, temperatures were back in the low 20s, and on April 9th, 2 more inches of snow fell. April 10th plunged down to 4 degrees in the morning, but by the afternoon, it was back into the low 30s. We're now up to 14 hours and 28 minutes of daylight, 52 minutes more of daylight than we had on March 30th. April 11th till the 14th, temperatures were in the 30s and the Chinook winds were strong, making it uncomfortable outside. On April 14th, 1 inch of snow fell during the late evening. April 14th through 18th, temperatures reached 44 during the days with a lot of wind, but melting most of the past winter's snow and ice. Evenings dropped down to the upper 20s. On April 19th and 20th, there were flurries all day long with no accumulation and temperatures in the mid-30s. Evening temperatures were in the mid-20s. We're now up to 15 hours and 33 minutes of daylight, 1 hour and 5 minutes more of daylight than we had on April 10th. Daytime temperatures were in the mid to upper 40s from April 21st until April 30th, and evening temperatures were in the upper 20s. Springtime has finally arrived. In the month of April, it snowed a total of 14 inches, the second snowiest month since November 2024, making this winter's total 54 inches, 35 inches less than the winter average. We're now up to 16 hours and 32 minutes of daylight, 59 minutes more of daylight than we had on April 20th. This is where my 6-month winter video will end. Winter is over, although in Alaska, you never know if Mother Nature will drop 20 inches of snow in May just because she can. But as summer arrives and the darkness disappears, it's the time of the year everyone has waited for the past 9 months. Now is the time to begin struggling to fall asleep with 18 to 20 hours of daylight outside. I can't wait until winter is back to get a good night's sleep again.